Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After we run you through the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A, where we answer fans' questions, and oh my god, we beat the brakes off of the defending NFC champions, and I cannot wait to get into that. I don't think we have any news today, actually, so I think we're actually going to go right into the box score. Let me make sure we don't have any news. We have an update on the NFL draft order. And just a quick one, we don't have to read through it because it's I'm sure you guys have heard about it. The Dolphins' bye week has been moved up due to the fact of the Titans scheduling issues and some of the other scheduling issues around the league. A lot of games have been moved around, and ours was one of them. We don't play the Jets back-to-back anymore. And our bye week, I believe, is after next week, if I'm not mistaken. And I think we don't play the Jets after our bye. So yeah, a lot of games got moved around. But it is what it is. And the updated draft order, this comes from Pro Football Rumors. The Dolphins now have the 7th pick of the draft due to the fact that the Texans are 1-4. So if you guys wanted to keep your eye on the prize there, a lot of things going good for the Dolphins right now. They have a 1-4 team's first round pick, and they're looking pretty good so far this year, which is pretty nice. So let's get into, again, we beat the brakes off the defending NFC champions. Didn't think this was going to go down like that. And I want to before we get into the nitty-gritty of the game, I want to get two things out of the way. Number one, a lot of people have brought up the fact that the Niners were really injured. And on defense, they were. But offensively, this was the first time that everybody was together since the Super Bowl. Mostert, Garoppolo, and Kittle, that's the first time they've played together since the Super Bowl. So I think it's a little bit misleading when people say that because their offense was on the field. And I know Jimmy's ankle was injured, but he had a few weeks off, and it's an ankle injury. And that doesn't change the fact that you lose 43-17. So I just wanted to point that out because I'm sick and tired. It's like we can't have anything. Anytime we do anything great, it's got to be brought down by. It's always about the other team. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because it's just annoying. The other thing I wanted to say is the refereeing was terrible on Sunday. It was absolutely god awful. Probably the worst personal foul and or roughing the passer that I've ever seen in my life, and some really questionable pass interference calls on Sunday. I just wanted to get that out of the way because I don't want to sit here for 30 minutes just ranting on the fact that was awful officiating, because it was terrible. And again, the whole fact that we can't, we just never get any credit. We beat a healthy 49ers offense without their starters. They were 12th in total offense, and they just got everybody back. Plus, it's a really, really tough scheme to go against. Kyle Shanahan's one of the better coaches in the NFL. So I think this was a really legitimate win, not some injured 49ers team. Now, granted, they were injured defensively, but they couldn't move the ball at all. They still had Trent Williams out there. They still had McGlinchey out there. They still had their offensive line out there. It is what it is. I don't know where to start on this one. This felt real good. We could go offense, we could go defense. There was no complaints offensive or defensively. I want to start defensively because there was a lot of interesting stuff that happened in this game that are a lot on the defense side of the ball that we need to talk about. Number one, let's get into the stats. For some reason, if you look up the box score on Google, it doesn't show the box score. I have no idea why. It just says it's unavailable. So I just went off of some, just random stats really that I could find. But the Dolphins defense finished with 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles on the day. They are absolutely dominant. And I want to start with the lineup change first. Obviously, Shaq Lawson wasn't playing in this game. Byron Jones just came back. He looked amazing on Sunday against a pretty solid receiver core for the 49ers. You got Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel, who are all pretty good receivers, plus George Kittle, who Eric Rowe completely took out of the game. I wonder if that had a lot to do with him playing Gronkowski for all those years in New England. He was really up for the challenge, but I'm losing my train of thought. Oh, yeah, the lineup change. I thought this was a huge news that I haven't seen a lot of people talk. Well, I wouldn't say I haven't seen a lot of people talk about. I mean, I don't, expect other media members to talk about it because, they don't notice this kind of stuff. But it was a pretty big lineup change. Not just the fact that Byron Jones was playing, but the fact that Andrew Van Ginkel played a lot of snaps, and Noah Igbenogany was benched, and I think it's all about, listen, we were all waiting for this to happen, and when you really think about it, the fact that Nick Needham wasn't playing more than Igbenogany was for the first, it's kind of crazy, because Nick had a really good rookie season for an undrafted rookie. He played really well, and then he really didn't get any playing time for the first 3 games. It was a lot of Jamal Wiltz. It was, Igbenogany. It was X for the most part. He didn't get a lot of significant playing time. In this game, he got all of the snaps pretty much in the slot, and he played outstanding football. He played really, really well, and was really good in the middle of the field on defense. Then you got Van Ginkel, who got more opportunities on Sunday due to the fact that Shaq Lawson's injury, and he was awesome. He was really, really good. Emmanuel Ogbah had his best game. I still feel like a lot of the free agent signings have played well for us so far, and especially Byron Jones. I mean, he comes back, and if we can keep these two healthy, X and Byron, and Nick Needham can play like he did on Sunday, and really play like he did his undrafted rookie year, this secondary is really good. And Eric Rowe, too, man. He played amazing. Bobby was sufficient. He had that nice interception. That Jerome Baker did a really good job of keeping up with Jerick McKinnon on that wheel route. Not many linebackers are hip-to-hip, step-to-step with a route like that. Really showcases his explosiveness. This defense is fast. It's well-coached. And it's good. And I love, like I've said many times, I love the scheme of the defense. And it's really starting to gel and come together. You can kind of feel it as you watch the games that they're on the same page. And it's really nice. And, again, lineup changes. I feel like this lineup for sure is the one that is going to gel the most, especially in the secondary. I mean, those are 2 huge changes. You get one of your best players back in the secondary, and then you obviously put Igbenogany on the bench. And Nick Needham, who's got a year under his belt, had a good undrafted rookie year, played really well. And it's really nice to see that. Really, really nice to see that. So it's not just the fact that this team, let's just say, had a one-off. There were actual changes in the lineup that I think led to this, and I think this scheme has always been there, in my opinion, and the coaching staff has always been there, and I've been pretty consistent on that, in my opinion, especially on defense, and I think it really came through. I mean, if you look at some of the coaches' film that they did show during the game, where you saw, like, overhead shots of people were just bagged, like, across the field. Like, Brian had a really good game plan going into this game, and the play action, every play action that they had, which is, they're probably the best play action team in the NFL, there was nothing open. I mean, we had people double-teamed. Kittle was nowhere to be found. Even on all of those crucial third downs, they couldn't get the ball to him. And we just did a really good job on defense. I'm so proud of it's such a good feeling to see that team play that way, that defense play like it should play. We had high expectations for this defense going into the year. We didn't really get that for the first 3 games, and we saw a little bit of it against Jacksonville. But to see it against the 49ers, and really we haven't seen a team play like that against the Kyle Shanahan offense when he's had his horses like, and I know Garoppolo had the ankle problem, but still, ankle issue or not, there was no one open. We just did a really good job. And again, you cannot say enough of how really dominant X has been, and especially in this game. Let me get the stat for you. I should have had this pulled up. I forgot. But him and Byron Jones could be very dominant for a long time. And especially with Nick Needham. I'm so happy that we made that change because it's deserved. So this comes from PFF. Xavier Howard in 36 coverage snaps versus the 49ers Sunday. 4 targets, 0 receptions allowed. 1 interception, a pass breakup. He finished the day with an 85.5 coverage grade, which is 4th among corners. And an 84 overall grade, which is 3rd, which is really nice. So, again, X, who played really good against DK Metcalf. He was just following him the entire game. DK got his sometimes, but I feel like X did probably the best job that any corner has really done on him for the entire year. So, X is off to a great start. He had an interception this game right before half, which was huge on an overthrow. He had a pick in last week's game, so he's really starting to come back and get healthy, which is nice. And then obviously Byron Jones is coming back. He looked great. He didn't look like he did the first 2 games that he played in. He didn't look like he was hampering or he didn't look like he wasn't 100%. I feel like he was moving around pretty nice. So to get those two back healthy with Nick Needham in the slot, and Van Ginkel, who's been really nice for us on the defensive line. He's got 2 sacks on the year. I think he had 2 sacks in this game. Or maybe only had, I think he had 1.5. I'm not sure. But he also had the forced fumble in this game. He's coming on strong. Second-year player out of Wisconsin. So everything's really coming together. And I'm talking a little too fast right now. Everything's because I'm so excited. But everything's really coming together. And I'm very, 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 I got to stop and breathe. But everything's, like I said, coming together. And it's great to see. And I think this is the kind of expectations we had for this defense. And really, the strength of this defense and what the scheme is built off of is the secondary, since we've been lost our biggest piece, and really had some questionable lineups in there. And now that I think we finally found a lineup that really will benefit us going forward, I think you're going to see nothing but great things from this defense coming on. And I said that, after the Bills game, like I still believe in this defense, and it showed on Sunday. So it gets me even more excited. I love the scheme. I love the, maybe defense where we have all those people on line of scrimmage. I thought it really did a good. Kyle Shanahan had some answers for it, but with some of those like bootlegs, like motioning a receiver in the backfield and snapping the ball. But I feel like, again, I think this defense is fast. It's physical, and again, against one of the best running teams in the league. They popped some runs, but they couldn't be consistent with it. And a lot of that had to do with our offense going up 14-0. But again, like I said, I think the defense was just dominant, and everybody's really concerned about the pass rush, and they've been really good. Especially last week, they had their moments too against Seattle. A couple, big 3rd downs and 4th downs in that game. I thought the defensive line popped a little bit too. So yeah, I think everything's moving in the right direction. Super excited about it. And if you think about it, this defense has played two of the best offenses in the league, maybe 1 and 2, and obviously the Chiefs are up there as well. And they played New England, and New England offense just couldn't give them anything in that game. So I think this defense, again, trending in the right direction, gets me super excited, and really just to see a dominant tandem out there with Byron and X. I think we forget sometimes because we haven't seen him play in a long time, but a healthy Xavier Howard is really, really good. And again, with Byron Jones coming back, who is one of the best corners in the league as well, this is going to be so fun to watch for the rest of the year. Hopefully they can stay healthy. So, in saying all that, because I could talk about that defense for a long time, and I'm excited to go back and watch a lot of that stuff because we were really dominant on defense. So let's get into the offensive side of the football. We'll start with Ryan Fitzpatrick. These are the only stats I could find. I don't know why the box score isn't on Google. It's weird. But anyway, this is Fitz's stats for the game. He finished with a 78 completion percentage with a 99 QBR, 350 yards and 3 tubs, with a quarterback rating of 154, which is crazy. His longest completion was 70 yards. And we did a really good job of, again, coaching was big in this game. This sounds simple, but it really hasn't been that way with previous coaching staffs. We recognized that we had a mismatch with their corners because obviously their starters were hurt. We took advantage of that. That was a huge part of the game plan, and it worked. It really worked. I thought we did it, and they still have their starting safeties in there, and I thought we did a really good job of breaking down. They run that Seattle scheme, a lot of cover 3 and match defense, and we did a really good job with the Mike Gesicki touchdown was a busted coverage on them. It was a really nice play design by us. There's it was just really Chan Gailey has been really good so far this year in my opinion. I've said this before, but I really like what he brings to the table. And again, we just had a nice game plan in this game. We didn't. Again, I think this team is a pass-first team. I don't think it's a run-heavy team. I thought we did a really good job of establishing that in this game and continue to stick with the identity of this team. Ever since week 2, I think we've done a really good job of that. And I know people are complaining about the running game, but that's just not what this team is. It's just not that. And I think, again, the game plan was really nice on both sides of the ball. I thought Josh Boyer called a good game. I think Shankly done just a really good job all year so far. The only bad game that we really had was against New England, and ever since then, I thought we've been aggressive. We really spread it out. Obviously, I even called for Tua last week, but Fitz had a really good game this game. Obviously, throwing for 3 touchdowns and almost 400 yards. And they still had their safeties in there with Jimmy Ward and Tart. And they still had Williams in the slot. So it wasn't... obviously on the outside they were hurting. I think they still had Verrett, though. So I think it was only really the one outside corner. But anyway, the point is that it was a good game plan. Fitz had a great game, and there's obviously the lineup changes on offense too. We have to get into. All right, so offensively, obviously Austin Jackson, he's gonna miss a lot of time. He was put on IR. In case you guys, I'm sure you guys know that, but he's only gonna miss a minimum of 3 weeks. It's not like usually where they pretty much miss half the year if they're on IR in 8 games, but he's only gonna miss 3 games, and this counts, so he's only gonna miss 2 more weeks. If he comes back healthy, so that's good. But I mean, obviously, I think all eyes are on this offensive line with him hurt and Robert Hunt, who, by the way, great idea from the Dolphins because I thought Davenport, he didn't start at all, which was, I thought, awesome. What they ended up doing was they switched Jesse to left tackle, and then Hunt started at right tackle, and he did a really, I mean, listen, Jesse Davis beat out a good tackle because he did a really good job. Now, the 49ers front is severely hurt. They didn't have D Ford, Nick Bosa. They're missing someone else either. They obviously didn't have Solomon Thomas, but they still, he didn't block Eric Armstead. So it wasn't like the tallest task in the world, but for him to come in and play like that, he did a really nice job in the running game. That's what we've heard in practice a lot is he's really good at the run game, just needs to work on the pass game. In both facets of the game, he did a really good job. And hats off to the coaching staff for getting these guys ready and ready to play. Jesse Davis obviously did a really good job at left tackle. And again, I think that's a sign of good coaching where we can switch these people out and they're ready to go and they're ready to play and it's not too big for them. And we've had issues like this in the past. Like, it's different, ladies and gentlemen. It's way different than it was under Adam Gase. It's way different than it was under Joe Philbin. Like, this would not have happened under them. I think this team was really well prepared. Again, the backups are really well prepared, the well-coached team. The penalties on this game are awful, and that's on the referees, not this team. Really bad. And again, the game plan was great. Isaiah Ford continues to be he's not like a dominant slot receiver, but he comes up big. He had the big 3rd down and 10 early in the game that kept the drive alive that led to 7. He just comes up big in big moments. Mike Gesicki continues to be a weapon on Sundays. Devontae Parker. And again, I wish I had the box score for you guys. And Preston Williams made 2 huge plays. I would love to see his final stats of the game. He had to have been close to 100 yards in this game. Obviously, he had the really nice touchdown in that game as well. It was split the safeties, and I think it looked like a cover too. And Fitz had the beautiful throw to him. It was just all around a great game to watch and experience as a Dolphins fan. It's for a lot of different reasons. Like I said, the lineup changes on defense were huge, and I think you're going to see that same secondary for the rest of the year as long as they stay healthy. Offensively, I think the game plan was great. Myles Gaskin continues to be really nice for us. The offensive line, was the biggest question mark going into this year. And if I were to tell you it's the strongest unit on the team, you would slap me in the face. Like, there would be no way you would believe that. And it is. It's the best unit, and that was a huge priority going into this year, was fixing it, and they fixed it. It's the best GM job we've had in a long time, especially about fixing an entire unit. And Chris did a great job, and Brian did too, of bringing in really good linebackers. Like, Gruger Hill has been really good for us, especially in coverage. Kyle Van Noy's been really good for us. Van Ginkel out of the draft has been really good for us. He plays outside linebacker. Obviously, Jerome Baker. I think that was pre them, but I'm missing someone else. Oh, and Landon Roberts, who had a really nice game. I've never seen a middle linebacker shoot the gap so much, though, and completely whiff, because there's a couple times where you get a 15-yard loss. But other than that, Landon Roberts had a really good game. He got in the backfield a lot. I think he almost had 2 sacks. I don't think he did get it, but he could have had 2 sacks in this game. So again, another good job by the Dolphins of adding talent to this team. Really, I don't have any complaints in this game. I think everybody had a great game plan. You really can't complain for a 43-17 win. I mean, it was beautiful. It was poetry in motion, ladies. I mean, we beat the brakes off of the NFC champions. And it wasn't even close. I mean, the secondary did such a good job. I mean, that has to be George Kittle's worst game since he's been clicking like he has under Kyle Shanahan. I mean, literally was non-existent in this game. The defense, Brian, they did such a good job. I think that was, I know we scored 43 on the 49ers, but to me the defense was the highlight of the day, especially the secondary. And the offensive line was great. It was absolutely tremendous. I mean, for them to, like, the injuries that we sustained, especially at tackle, and obviously Austin Jackson has been amazing for us. For Robert Hunt to come in and play like that is outstanding. And hats off to Eric Rowe. I don't think Eric Rowe gets enough love because he did. I mean, that's a dominant performance. I mean, we for a long time there, for like a 2-year stretch, we were giving up the most yards and touchdowns to tight ends. I think it was like a cross between Philbin and Gase. I think this is Gase's first year and then Philbin's last year. But those were like the Ellerby, Philip Wheeler days, with the Jelani Jenkinses and stuff like that out there. So the Jason Truznicks, yeah, we've done such a good job with this defense and really adding players that fit the scheme and do well in this scheme. Just great. Like I said, those guys, like those defenses would not have done coming anywhere close to what they did against the 49ers. I mean, they took out that entire offense for the moment, like literally all of them. And the second touchdown that they had, they should really only have 10 points. The second touch that they had was they should give the 7 points to the referees because there was 3 penalties on that drive that kept giving them first downs that were, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, these were on third down that were awful. So really, they can give that 7 points to the referees. The Dolphins really only let up 10 the entire game, which is crazy. So yeah, I don't really have a lot to say. I don't want to get any. I mean, there was like one nitpicky thing. It's like Jakeem Grant is good for like 1 drop a game. That's it. He needs to stop dropping footballs. But other than that, oh yeah, this is another thing I wanted to bring up before we move on to the fan Q&A. Linbone Jr. Now I know he only had like 2 1-yard carries, but he looks good. He has like he needs to get some work at running back. I know he probably can't. Doesn't have the vision of a running back. And obviously, Matt Breida had a good game. I forgot about Matt Breida. He had a good game in this game as well. Came in for a couple of big runs. But Linbone Jr., I like the Wildcat package that we're using. But he, like, the way he hits the hole, man, he's got some explosion to him. We need to find a way. And he looks, those 2 1-yard carries. I've never seen someone so excited about a 1-yard carry before. But yeah, I'm excited to continue to see that as well. Again, I just can't say enough about what happened on Sunday. I'm delighted, elated. I'm on cloud 9. Whatever, else how you want to describe it. I'm sure we all are. I mean, we, like I said, beat the brakes off of them. And this defense and offense played really, really well. And it's really nice to see these young players play well. And obviously Jason Sanders, who's been amazing for us, he had a really nice game as well. Just an absolute special teams, offense, defense. It was a dominant performance by this Dolphins team, and we really stole one, by the way, because to win this one, we're 2-3 right now. We're 1 game out of the 7th seed, and then we obviously have the Jets next week. So we put ourselves in this is a big win for many different reasons, and just an awesome win here. So let's get into the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. I think we have quite a few questions to answer on this week's episode. So let's get into the fan Q&A. This first question comes from TR3. He says, when Miami gets on the attack instead of... Okay, excuse me, let me start that over. I got too ahead of myself. He says, when Miami gets on the attack instead of on defense, I think they're a better team. And have a better chance to win by opening up the playbook instead of acting on what the other team does. This is the second week in a row they started aggressively. What do you think? I think they started that with Buffalo too. In Jacksonville, they really let their foot off the pedal in the second half. I think we did a better job of that in this game where we just continued to fight and didn't let our foot off the gas. I think that was a pretty big thing, especially, if you compare, because at halftime, especially with those turnovers at the half, you could see Brian, being a little bit more conservative, starting to really eat up the clock. And we did do some of that, but we were aggressive really throughout the entire game. I think we really changed that in week 2, though. Really opening up the playbook. And I think ever since then, I think it's been getting better, like you said, just kind of closer and closer to that. And I think this team really found its identity, which is a pass-first team. and it's really working out for us. So the question was, when, because I want to make sure I answered this. He says, when Miami gets on the attack instead of defense, I think they're a better team and have a better chance to win by opening up the playbook instead of acting on what the other team does. Yeah, I agree with that. I really, really do. I think that's how it should have been since week one. If we started that game in week one a little bit more aggressive too, I think we would have had a better chance to win that one. This next question comes from Vegas. He says, question, what is your opinion of Coach Flores regarding his coaching ability/philosophy to the game versus his predecessors? Okay, so I think the difference... Okay, let's do this by regimes. The biggest difference between Philbin's regime and the Mike Shermans and the Bill Lazers and the Zach Taylors and the Dan Campbells of that era, between this era, is it's way more innovative and what it should look like in 2020. A lot of that stuff, especially with Mike Sherman and Philbin, was a lot of old West Coast stuff. Defensively, it was with Kevin Coyle, it was really bad. A lot of linebackers in coverage. I think since the league had, especially in the 2010s and especially right now, it's a pass-heavy league. You have to build your defense from your secondary down, in my opinion. You have to get people who can cover. In the middle of the field, on the back end, in the deep middle of the field, you have to have people who can cover everywhere, who can cover backs, tight ends. They didn't have that, and they didn't build the team that way. Jeff Ireland and Mac Tannenbaum, they didn't build the team that way. This team is building this defense to defend 2020 offenses, and not just, the bad, like, you can get away with that playing a bad team on defense, with what the Philbins of the world did in the Jeff Island. You can get away with that, but not when you play a Kyle Shanahan or even like a Josh McDaniels or just a really good play caller and a good offense. You have to have people who can cover. So I think that's the philosophy in that is completely different. I think, like I said, I think it's just more built for defending offenses now than it was for that, and especially offensively and defensively. Just the team's built defensively like it should be built for the way the offenses run their offenses now. And I think the biggest difference between the Gase era and this era, I think, is team preparation, leadership. I think those are the two biggest ones. I think team preparation and leadership and play calling, I think, are vastly better than they were with that regime. Between Matt Burke and Josh Boyer and how we called plays now on defense is completely different. I think we're doing a better job of obviously picking players in the front office because the head coach and GM are on the same page. And obviously Adam Gase and Mac Tannenbaum were more so the GMs than Chris Greer was. He kind of was just like, hey, it definitely seemed like he was the guy that they're just bouncing ideas off of, not necessarily going, like, he's not making the executive decisions. So I think those are the biggest differences between the regimes that we've seen. And obviously culture is a big deal. Like I said, leadership and culture, I think, is something that you hear a lot about, especially in the media and even with the players. Like, it was vast. It's just vastly different. And picking players that want to win and aren't just here for contracts and just sit by the beach all day, I think is a big deal as well. So yeah, there's a lot of big differences, and I think in the two, like a lot of big differences in the two, and I think you're seeing that on Sundays. It's a good question. This next question comes from Vegas. He says, if we can continue on this trajectory, can we win the division, or are the Bills and Pats just too far ahead of us, as they are getting better each week as well? This is a good question. The Bills, I think with Byron Jones, that game's different. Obviously, listen, we were one play away from winning that game, and I can say that a lot this year. Against the Seattle Seahawks and the Bills, we really were one play away. I think getting Byron back, I think that game looks completely different. Communicate. I mean, listen, even in the Seahawks game, we busted a zone coverage right before half, and that was literally all on the rookie corner. So I think that's a big deal, and I'm excited to rematch with the Bills. The Patriots give me a little bit more pause. They're harder to defend than the Bills, in my opinion. I know that sounds crazy. I just think for our team, it's going to be interesting to see how we change things up against them. It worries me a little bit I just think we match up better with the Bills than the Patriots. But I think we can beat both of them, especially getting New England and Miami. I know we have to go on the road in Buffalo, but we played them tough last year in Buffalo. And like I said, I think getting Byron Jones back is a big deal. So I think, especially how the first two games went with both teams, definitely the Dolphins can win both of those games for sure. So they just have to take care of business outside of the division, really. And they have some tough opponents outside of the division coming up, but I think we can win. I think we're a good team, and I think we can win pretty much any game. I mean, we've seen them play the best teams in the NFL, and they were more than competitive with them. So I think we can we can win a game, any game really, on any given Sunday. So I think we had definitely got a shot. And again, we did lose to New England and Buffalo, but we definitely have. If we don't win the division, we have a really good shot at the 7th seed, in my opinion. I think again, this team is going to be really competitive for the rest of the year for sure. This next question comes from Beef. He says, "I'm so happy that the Miami Dolphins won on my birthday. A good present. It was as good of a present as it gets. Are there any improvements that need to be made for this team, such as finishing drives for touchdowns instead of field goals?" Again, I think you said this last week. I'm sure that felt good, especially in a blowout win. So are there still any improvements that need to be made for this team, such as finishing drives? I think we finished drives well in this game. Instead of field goals. If there's any improvements that this team needs, I'm excited to see what this lineup looks like when Antonio Callaway comes back, and where Jakeem Grant plays, or if he just gets benched. I'm excited. I think that, in terms of looking forward, is the most interesting thing. I'm very excited to see what happens when he comes back, or not come back because he never was here, but when Antonio Callaway does come. And I'm excited to see what Limbo Jr.'s how he continues to get the ball, because I think he's definitely a playmaker. This question comes from Vegas. He says, "What did you think of Wilkins giving excuse me?" He says this question comes from Vegas. He says, "What did you think of Wilkins giving the recovered fumble to Flores?" I think that was a great sign of just the team loves him. They believe in him. They believe in where this team's going. They believe in this game, especially after this win. And all the games that they've went through this week, you can tell, like, they believe, like, this dude knows what he's talking about, and that really showed on Sunday. So I think it shows all of those things. I think it just, really what it says is this team is going in the right direction, is what that says, in my opinion. This next question comes from Vegas. He says, "Do you believe that the local media is overly skeptical of Flores, and if so, is it deserved given the recent track record with the team? If not, why not?" So this is a great question. So do you believe the local media is overly skeptical? I do, and I've said this before, that I think it's just, you know what, I really, I think has a lot to do with just covering a team for such a long time, and as a Dolphins fan, I think you are skeptical a lot of the time. I mean, it's natural for some of the stuff that we've seen and had to go through over the last 10 years alone has been really rough. I mean, 2017 and 2018 were really bad. And some of the stuff, like, again, that was, not just the only thing that this team has went through for the last, that's just keeping it in that one decade. So I get it, I get it. I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't make sense for them to be so cynical about everything. But I don't think you can deny you can't deny that this is not going in the right direction. You just can't. You can't say that, in my opinion. They were so down on, like, they're like, some of the things that you heard of if you watch the Dave Hyde, Omar Kelly show every week. That, a lot of things are, what does it matter that they were one drive away or one play away from winning those games? A loss is a loss, and they're like, every NFL game is close. They were built to be. That's not true. If the Jets played the Seahawks, it wouldn't be close. That does say something about your team and your coaching staff. If you are in a close game with a really good team like that, that does say something about your team. I think that's absolutely stupid to say something like that. if you play, what's another bet? If the Jags played the Seahawks, it would be, a different result on Sundays. So I'd completely disagree with that. So I do think they're overly skeptical for sure. And he's not even done with his second year as the head coach of this team yet. So yeah, I definitely think they're way, way, way too hard and again cynical about a lot of things that this team. And again, it's hard. I understand it, but you can't you can't look through a certain lens. You have to and I think everybody kind of does do that in a way. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I get it, and at the same time, I just don't think it fits here for sure. And listen, all Flores is going to keep doing is getting wins. So the time will come when they give him his credit for sure. This next question comes from Fanatic. He says, it seems that the 49ers got away from the running game, therefore lost their ace card. I don't think they got away from the run game. I mean, they still ran the ball on pretty much, especially every drive in the first half. And even in the second half, they were doing, I think they were still keeping up with the running game. And again, their one touchdown drive earlier in the game, when they cut it to 7-14, they ran the ball for that. And it was really just one big play to Mostert on the edge. And it was a really good block by Trent Williams. He's the only tackle in the league that's making that block. So I think the Dolphins did a really good job against the run. And again, like I said, it does help that the team got a 14-0 lead early on in that game. But the defense all game was really, really good. Fanatic, to answer your question there. The sixth question comes from Scar305. He says, "What's up, Skags? What do you think of Dolphins fans? Well, at least some having conspiracies surrounding Flores with Tua on why he sounds concerned about Tua's injury. Is it because Flores doesn't want to play Tua because if Tua plays bad, it's on Flores? Or is it because they're maybe looking into Trevor? Or is it because he just doesn't like when he's seen with Tua or none? I'm hearing a lot. I have my own reasons, but just wanted to know your opinion, fins up." Okay, that's a lot there. So okay. I disagree with all three of those things. I just don't think... this is the reason. And I said this last week. I think the locker room is attached to Fitzpatrick on the hip. You can see that. I mean, Mike Gesicki said after the game that he would love to play with Fitzpatrick for the 15 years if he could. You have Kyle Van Noy going on the Pat McAfee show singing, "Oh, it's magic. It's Fitzmagic." So you can see that this locker room just loves him. So it would be hard, especially after the first 5 weeks of the year, to say you're out, Fitz. I think they would I just don't think they would vibe with that at all. And I think that's the biggest problem with benching him is the locker room. And again, I think we were all quick to judge. I think it was just really tough losses to swallow. And he had a hand in that loss in Seattle for sure. And I think we were overly quick because he's played, like I said, the highs are so high, man. I mean, like some of the throws and some of the reads he can make and some of the scrambles that he has, some of the, just instincts that he has are above average quarterback level. And some of the bad is really bad sometimes. And we just got, I definitely think he's better than he's ever been. And just watching him play, I think he's the best version of Fitz. This is the best version of Fitz that there has ever been, in my opinion. So we'll just continue to ride that and see where it takes us. But again, I think as a fan of the team, I think you just have to really appreciate what Fitz is doing. I know he's old and he's not the new thing on the block, but if you really just sit back and appreciate what he's done over the last 2 years as a whole, I think you can appreciate it a little bit more because he has done a lot of really good things for this team. He's putting up numbers that we haven't really seen since Dan Marino, and that's just a fact. I mean, 350, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions against a good 49ers team is if that was Tua, I mean, everybody would be to the moon. But it's because it's this old dude with a beard. It feels a little bit different, and I think there's a lot of that going on right now. But I do think, to answer your question, 305. I think the hardest thing the reason it's so hard to bench Fitz is not only does he playing pretty good, but his attachment with the locker room is ridiculous. So I think all of that, what I just said, I think is the reason why you're not seeing Tua. This next question comes from Eric. He says, if Preston keeps this up, do you think we won't draft a receiver high next year? That's a good question, and I'm excited to see what Callaway does when he comes back. Or I keep saying comes back, when he finally makes his debut as a Dolphin. But to answer your question, Eric, if Preston keeps up, I think they still need, and we'll see if Callaway gives this to us. They need a different, and Isaiah Ford does give it a little. He's doing a really good job he's like a fan favorite guy. He's not Wes Welker. He's not Julian Edelman. He's gotten us a lot of really good, big third downs. He's not the guy that's going to have, and he might pop off for 80, 90, 100 yards sometimes, but he's not going to do that on a consistent basis. He's not running an 80-yard touchdown in. He's a solid slot receiver. I think what this team's missing is a different type of receiver. A little quicker, a little faster, like a Henry Ruggs type of a guy who's a fast, speedy dude, like a Deshaun Jackson, who can stretch the field. Jakeem Grant is a fast dude. He's a good gadget guy. He's not a good receiver. So I think that's just the one thing that they're missing. And Antonio Callaway could give us that this year. So I'm excited to see what he does. But I think the Dolphins definitely don't have to draft a receiver high next year. Now, if there's someone that they really like, because we've seen a lot of really good receivers fall, I wouldn't be opposed to it at all. Because I don't really think this team needs, especially on the offensive side of the ball, all they really need, I like Myles Gaskin. I don't think you really need, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you got another running back, but I don't think that's what this team desperately needs on offense. I think really that would be the only thing I would look for if I was the Dolphins on offense, is that guy, if Antonio Callaway doesn't give us that. So I think really right now the Dolphins are pretty happy with the offense that they have right now. So I guess to answer your question, Eric, I think it's more of wait and see to see what Antonio Callaway does. This next question comes from Beef. He says, hey, Skaggs, how bad is it now that Austin Jackson is on IR? Not bad. It's not bad at all. Now, Austin Jackson, it sucks that we don't get to continue to see him play because he is such a good player. But what I love, like I said, I think it's an underrated lineup move because the rumor was for a long time leading up to the game that Davenport would start, and he didn't. I thought they did a good job of moving that offensive line around into the right spots, and I think with the performance that they had on Sunday, I'm excited to see that lineup moving forward. So I don't think it's going to hurt the team that much, especially based on what that offensive line did on Sunday. This next question comes from Nothing Face. He says, since we barely use Jordan Howard, do you think we should trade him to someone like the Giants for a decent draft pick, or maybe find some help at the safety position? And do you think that having Jones back allowed us to be more aggressive with the... Yes, I do. That's a great point. With the blitz, since we didn't have to worry much about coverage. I think it helped us with communication. There was a great play at the beginning of that game where Byron looked back at Bobby and he started yelling at him. And I would like to believe in my head, now I don't know this, but I would like to believe he got us out of a bad play in terms of a miscommunication. He set things straight. So to have a veteran DB that is as good as Byron back there, it cannot be stated enough how much that's going to help the team. And I do think that was allowed to open, it really opened up the defensive playbook a lot more, I think, and gave the coaches confidence to call some plays like those aggressive blitzes that you saw. So what is the other question? Safety, help at the safety position. You know what? I think Bobby has put back the best games that he's ever had at safety back to back. He had a couple really nice breakups on DK Metcalf last week. And then this week, he obviously had the interception and really did a nice job of, at the robber position, coming down and double teaming the right guys. He did a really good job of protecting the middle of the field this game. So I think Bobby's trending in the right direction. And obviously Eric Rowe is dominant. I mean, good Lord. Good Lord, what he did on Sunday. And the whole Jordan Howard thing, I really don't have an answer for you on that one. As long as I really don't. I'm excited to see if he gets used more, but we'll see. This next question comes from Adrian. He says, Skaggs, great team win. However, this awful officiating is way out of hand. Seems the league, Vegas, or Vito were bent on keeping it close with a ghost or non-calls against Miami. So there's a period there. With ghost or non-calls against Miami. Yeah, there was, like I said earlier in the show, it was awful officiating. And then he says, anyway, what's up with Jordan Howard? he just doesn't fit the team, man. This is a pass first team. This isn't an I form, single back, under center, grinded out team. This isn't that team. This is a pass first team, and Jordan Howard just doesn't fit the mold of that. And I think that's why you just don't see. I mean, Breida and Gaskin clearly are, fit the team better. And again, like, he's someone who needs a lot of carries in a game, so he fits that team. He doesn't fit this team. You're not going to get 15 carries or 17, 18, 19, 20 carries on a consistent basis with how this team and the identity of this team and how this team is playing. But yeah, again, the referees and stuff is just out of hand. It really is ridiculous. This next question comes from Bad Bandit. He says, "Hey Skaggs, give me your honest opinion on Jay Grant. I've personally seen enough from him to move on. I'm not sure I've ever seen a wide receiver trip over his own feet as much as Grant, not to mention the drops." Yeah, I think it's time. I think he's kind of a man with no country at this point. He really doesn't do a lot. And I mean, literally really doesn't do a lot on every given Sunday. And again, that's why I'm excited to see what the team does when Callaway comes back, and see what the lineup looks like with him. I'm excited to see that. He's just not a good receiver. And he needs to be a better receiver, in my opinion. And he's not a slot receiver. He's not an outside receiver. And he can't really play the outside because Jakeem and Preston are on the field all the time. This next question comes from a man with a Spanish name. And he says, "How does Robert Hunt play? And if Jackson comes back, can you see Hunt playing right tackle and Jesse Davis to the bench? How did Robert Hunt play? And if Jackson comes back, can you see Hunt playing at right tackle and Jesse Davis on the bench?" I don't think I could ever see Jesse Davis on the bench, but maybe you just kind of, because Eric Flowers and Ted, and Solomon obviously are not going to get benched. They're really good, so. I don't know, man. I think you're just going to be like, listen, we have an embarrassment of riches on the offensive line. You just kind of have to just put Austin Jackson back, I guess, and Jesse Davis has to stay. Or maybe they do bench Jesse because, especially if Robert continues to play that well, maybe they do bench him because he is the younger guy. I don't know. I don't think they will because there's not a lot of veteran presence on the offensive line. I think Jesse will probably start for the entire year. So I can't see that, to answer your question. This next question comes from Josh. He says, "Skaggs, thoughts on the win? And any mistakes you noticed we should fix against the Jets?" There's really no mistakes other than like the muff punt and Jakeem. There's not really a lot there to be upset about. There's nothing really there. So I don't think there's anything we need to fix. We just somehow need to get Byron and X in that game healthy because they are very good. Very, very good. And Eric Rowe has been outstanding, dude. Dude, where Eric Rowe started, now people don't remember, I don't know if you guys remember, you should remember this, but from where he was, especially at corner, where he was to now at strong safety, I have never seen a positional switch be this beneficial to a Dolphin ever. I really haven't. Like, he was dominant on Sunday. Like, George Kittle was not a thing on Sunday. So, like, I can't say enough about him. So, yeah, there's really nothing to fix, to answer your question, Josh. This next question comes from Vegas. He says, "The Dolphins are scoring 31 points and giving up 18 per game. Do you think that's good enough to be an 8-8 team this year, especially considering the schedule ahead of us?" I mean, I think we could be, I think 9 wins get you... Now, depending on who's there at the end, it could be 10 wins to get the 7th seed, which is crazy. But I think the Dolphins could hit it. I really do. I think they could get there. If Fitz continues to be steady, I think the Dolphins could get there for sure. And if this defense can stay healthy and that's the lineup that we get every week, the sky is the limit for this team. This next question, I think the target is the 7th seed. And again, if you guys got to remember, they added an extra seed, which is the 7th seed. So, we've had many 8, 9, and 7 teams make the 6th seed. So I think the Dolphins definitely have a shot at the 7th seed. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, "Thoughts on Bobby McCain at free safety this season?" He's put together, again, 2 really good games. The best games of his career, in my opinion. So I'm excited to see him keep doing that. This next question comes from Coconuts. He says, "I love to see our dominant play against the 49ers, and I loved every minute of it. Although one thing I wish we would have done. I really wish we would have put Tua in the fourth quarter just to get some reps and experience in game. What are your thoughts? I completely agree. As a fan and as a person who loves Tua Tagovailoa, I would have loved to have seen Tua play, but I don't really know what's going on with that. Brian's explanation was we were just going to hand the ball off a lot, and it's like, well, who cares? If then as a fan, hey, little wink and nod to the fans, just put Tua in. There's no reason not to. Maybe he was like, oh, I don't want him getting his feet stepped on. I don't know. You don't want something stupid happening just to hand the ball off, I guess. But how about Tua coming onto the field and celebrating with the team? I mean, this locker room is insane, dude. They've really done a good job of putting this team together. Yeah, so to answer your question, Coconuts, it was obviously a little disappointing. But I don't even want to use the word disappointing because Sunday, nothing was disappointing about that game. This next question comes from Josh. He says, Skaggs, do you think the dominance of Byron Jones and Xavier Howard will continue? I know it was only one game, but I think they can be a nice... Yeah, dude, these two... Byron Jones is a person who played against Sean Payton in the Saints offense and only gave up one catch to Michael Thomas. Okay? That's how good Byron Jones is. So... Yeah, I think this is... And again, I think we forget, and even I forgot, kind of, how good X is when he's healthy. Like, it's insane. Like, they literally take out their sides of the field. So, it's going to be tough sledding for any team going against those two. Especially with the scheme and how aggressive it can be with some of the blitzes that we run. So, yeah, man, I think it definitely can continue to be dominant. This next question comes from Josh. He says, Skaggs, thoughts... let's see here. Thoughts on our O-line. So far this season, I couldn't even finish the question because I'm so excited. I cannot believe how good they're playing. Like, it's actually crazy. And I never would have, like I said, guessed that they would be the best unit on the team. I guess the secondary, I think after this game, there's no argument that the secondary is the best unit on the team, especially if Bobby continues to play like he does, because they literally, I'm talking about whooped up on them. Like, you cannot play better as a secondary on Sunday. Like they did on Sunday. So if they can keep that up, then they would be the best unit on the team. But I could not even imagine how good, especially like Solomon Kinley, like how he is amazing, dude. So yeah, I think I would never have been able to see this offensive line be this good. Another O-line question. This comes from Corporate Gamer. He says thoughts on our line. Like I said, outstanding. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says thoughts on Dak's injury. Super sad. Very sad actually. It's hard to see, especially knowing that everything that dude's been through over the last few years. It's tough to see someone like that deal with an injury like that. It's really tough. This next question goes from Richard. He says Jason Sanders, the kicker, is having a good year. Do you think he can make a Pro Bowl appearance? Absolutely. He's definitely a top 3 kicker in the league right now for sure. This next question comes from Beef. He says, just an opinion. Do you think this was an easy win for the Dolphins because San Fran is hurt and their quarterbacks are not playing good? No. I think their offense was all there. Listen, it's not, you don't just get lucky and they played the best tight end in the NFL. He didn't show, like, it was like he didn't even show up. Like, that's how you know you have a really good secondary. So, I think it had more to do with the Dolphins' defense than anything. This next question comes from Mark. He says, after the win, is Tua time? That might have been during the game that he asked that question. No, because I think I put this up after the game. I don't really know what that means with Mark. No, I don't think you're going to see Tua for a long time after this game. This next question comes from Peck Me Out. He says, great game today and kudos all the way around. Do you think that barring an injury to Fitzpatrick and there is any way that we see Tua on the field this year, or is the plan just to have him go? I think, listen, like I said earlier in the show, I think a lot of this is like, listen, we just want to see the new kid on the block. We want to see Tua, and we're not really appreciating what Fitz is doing. I think any other, if this is anybody else, we would be excited to see him play next week. But I understand the question and the feeling, because even I was on that wagon last year, or not last year, last week. I was like, I think it's time to see Tua. But yeah, I just don't think you're gonna see Fitz. If Fitz Tua, I think if Fitz with the locker room and he continues to play like this, there's just no way you're gonna see Tua. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, do you think Emmanuel Ogbah is our future star pass rusher? I don't know if he's a star pass rusher. I think he's a really good starting defensive end in the NFL. And he's really good in this scheme, too. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, do you think Green Bay is the best team in the NFC? No, I think Seattle is the best team in the NFL. This next question comes from Josh. He says, Jason Sanders MVP, absolutely. This next question comes from Seymour. He says, do you think Andrew Van Ginkel is better than Lawson setting the edge, and is it time to give Zach Sealer more playing time? I think to answer your Zach Sealer question, you saw that because he started the game. So I think you've already seen that change. And with Van Ginkel, I think he definitely, if he can, I think for sure you got to start him because he didn't start in the Jaguars game and he made those plays. So I think you got to play Van Ginkel more. This last question comes from D-Mac. He says, do you think they should trade Tua if they continue to feel like him getting hurt is a problem and draft another top? No, I don't think it's the hurt thing. I think it's more Fitzpatrick than Tua, and I don't think it has anything to do with that. I mean, you like I said, I think you can't. I'm not overstating this. The team, and I know you all know this because you see it. That locker room is literally on. It might as well be Fitz's beard. That's how close they are to him. So, yeah, I think a lot of it just has to do with Fitz, not Tua at all. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is it for this week. I'm out of breath. My lungs can't take the excitement. Because, again, like I said, we beat the brakes with a capital B off the defending NFC champions. And I think for some reason people are trying to take it away from us. Oh, they didn't have, listen, they have their entire offense out there. So I don't really care about, but we've dealt with the starting quarter being out and a rookie starting all year. So I don't really want to hear it. And every time we bring up our injuries, it's like, well, everybody deals with it. So it's not even a valid excuse. Well, guess what? Everybody deals with it. And I want it to be on our side now. Everybody deals with it. It's not a valid excuse. Because that's what, you hear Barry Jacks, or not Barry Jacks, you hear Dave Hyde and Omar spit that out every single week. Everybody deals with injuries. It doesn't matter if it was close. You didn't win. All that stuff. Well, I want that to be said about the 49ers, too, when they bring that up. Well, the 49ers didn't have their starting corner, but they still had Jason Verrett, who's a good starting veteran corner. I know the other guy wasn't. But hey, they still had their slot corner, and they still had their two starting safeties out there. And the Dolphins still put 40 on them. So I don't want to hear it. I want to hear the same thing everybody else says, that everybody deals with injuries. I want to hear that this week. That's what I want to hear. It's actually, it just makes me, it's how stupid and backwards is that, though. It's like, honest to God, like, it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is it for this week. I'm super excited. I cannot wait for next week, dude, because God knows they're not ready for the smoke after what I saw this week and really what I've seen all year. Like, I'm really excited about this team and moving forward. I mean, they've done such a good job of assembling this team. Like I said, with the offensive line, the locker room, the defense, Brian Flores, Fitzpatrick with his beard, Tua jumping into his arms after touchdowns. I mean, it's a good time to be a Dolphins fan. Anyway, I'm Skax83, and I will see you guys in. And by the way, I want to read before we leave here today. I want to read this because I think it's important, and this is how crazy people are, and I really don't understand it. I don't know if we're gonna get this off, but I do want to bring this up. This is what Barry Jackson tweeted, longtime beat writer for the Dolphins. We have absolutely no idea if Herbert can sustain this over his career, and no idea if Tua will be good/great. But credit to at the real Tannenbaum, who is Mike Tannenbaum, Chris Sims, who I like, for being the most vocal media voice. This dude said, out of the last, 5 years we dealt with Mike Tannenbaum, credit to Mike Tannenbaum? Bro, we are not doing that today. There is no way he tweeted that. Credit to Mike Tannenbaum. Mike Tannenbaum gets zero credit for anything. I don't care what, honestly, dude. That guy is a terrible, 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 terrible executive, dude. Anyway, I just could not believe I read that. Anyway, I'm Scash23. Can't wait for next week. We don't want to be negative at the end of the show. This was an awesome win. Fins up. I'll see you guys next week.